Yeah, so whenever the pandemic kind of hit, it actually took a little while for like my gym to close down. So at the time, I was a teenage athlete and I was doing the online qualifier. Um, and I spent the last couple days and doing that. And the next thing I knew that my gym was closed. Uh so, kind of after that, I kind of had some choices to make just because, I really wanted to see if I could make the games my last try as a teen athlete. And unfortunately, I fell short. But I kind of got a little lucky because I ended up still being able to have that experience. I actually got to compete at the Pit Fitness Ranch the first year they had it, just so that, it was basically a competition to give teenage athletes, their turn to kind of show off what they've done. So it kind of ended up sort of being like a happy ending. Fortunately, I was able to um, have, lots of gym equipment in my garage. And so I was still able to train pretty normally, but yeah, I kind of had that competition in Michigan to kind of keep me motivated during that time. And I felt like, I still continued to move forward even with, everything being shut down. Yeah, so it's actually interesting because I have a brother, he's probably about 10 years older than me, and he did CrossFit when he was in high school, probably around like 2010 to 2012, so quite some time ago. So I kind of got to watch him kind of go through the sport. He was never really incredibly competitive, but I was always really interested in it at a young age. And that CrossFit gym happened to be in another town. So, at the time I was probably like 8 or 9. So my parents were like, no, like, you don't really have to do that. But fortunately, a CrossFit gym came to my town and I just kind of begged my parents to try it. I was probably 15 at the time. And they let me do it. And originally, it kind of started as conditioning because I was swimming at the time competitively. It's something that I've done from a very young age. And that's kind of how it started. But then, very quickly, probably like 2, 3 weeks in, I was like, I kind of really saw myself competing in the sport. And I just fell in love with it. And yeah. Yeah. So for me, CrossFit, as seriously as I take it, I, at least get 2 sessions in a day, make sure I get all my training in. It really is just kind of a secondary thing that I do. Right now I'm in college, so for me, the education and the academics still comes first, just because it's something that I value as an individual. Whenever I, first, graduated, there were a lot of girls who just decided that they wanted to train all the time, and I respect that, but I knew that that wasn't what I wanted to do. Um, so I guess as far as like time management goes, that's really important. Um, I kind of just schedule my classes, kind of in the middle of the day in between sessions, and it just works for me. And I go in really early in the morning and I get a lot of training under my belt, and then I go to school, and after that I come home and um, do some more training, and that's pretty much my whole day. And now I've started coaching at my CrossFit gym, so that takes up a little bit of my evening as well. But I just always try to put myself in a position to where I can always train, just because not only do I, want to get better at it, but it's something that makes me really happy. So, I think the hardest part for me to pick up was just kind of like the gymnastics part. I had done gymnastics when I was little, but I never did like bars and stuff. That people come in being good at bar muscle ups because they did it in gymnastics, but I think in swimming, coming into CrossFit, it was really easy because I had a very big I was really used to like the heavy cardio and stuff like that. So the running, the long metcons, I never really had a problem with. But as far as like hanging onto the bar and just like pulling up my own weight in gymnastics and all of those movements was definitely the hardest kind of carryover for me. I think for me, I've definitely had some problems with like, body image and stuff like that. But I think the biggest advice that I would give them would be, maybe not necessarily focus on what you look like, but really kind of keep in the back of your mind, okay, well, yes, I look like this, but look at all of the things that my body can do while I look like this. I think, you should be proud of, the things that you're able to accomplish, no matter what your body composition looks like, whether you get a little bit bulky. I mean, I think that's okay. I mean, I can understand, like, there are some people who, bulk up really fast and that might be, a huge, turn off for most people. But I think, you know, just try not to get off track. But I think my biggest piece of advice would be just to focus on the things that you can do with the body that you have, not necessarily what that body looks like. Yeah, so right now I just count my macros. I would say that's probably a fairly new thing for me. I started counting macros for the first time, like right when the pandemic started. And, that was probably about 2 years ago. But, I've really only followed the macros probably about half of my career, I would say. So that's what I do now. And that's what works for me. And I would probably continue to do that. Sleeping is kind of a hard thing for me because I can't really ever turn my brain off. So I do delegate quite a bit of time to sleeping. I try to fall asleep at least by 9, but in all honesty, I probably don't ever fall asleep until at least midnight. So I mean, I make a lot of time for sleeping, but I would say I maybe get like 4 to 5 hours of sleep. That's kinda just the way I've always been, and, I don't know, I just operate on very little sleep most of the time just because that's just what I do. I think the biggest highlight in my career for me, I would say probably not this season, but the season after that would be, um, having my first year in the open division and being able to miss semifinals by 70 places on my first try, not really knowing what I was going to do or how I was going to fare against those people. I think that was definitely a huge confidence booster for me. And, even like this season, I think it'd be kind of interesting or, kind of like a different way to say it. But, this year I fell short of semifinals um, because I performed really badly in event 3, but I think that, I could almost say that was a highlight because, that was probably the first time that I probably had fallen short, of something that I really wanted, and I think, even right now, seeing all of the progress that I've made just because I have that, motivation from a failure in my back pocket, I think, I would probably say that that would probably been the best thing that's happened to me all season, and I think that's kind of odd because I don't think a lot of people would view it that way, but I think that would probably be a major thing for me. Just my performance in the open division so far the last 2 years probably be a really big highlight for me. Um, I think that for me, my favorite athlete of all time is Cara Saunders. I honestly don't even know why, but over the past couple of years, it's really been cool to watch her work just because she has got so many things on her plate. She has her little daughter now and, living 16 hours, time difference from most athletes and just, seeing her battle through that. And, um, I really love watching her compete. I just really enjoy seeing her do her thing. And I think outside of CrossFit, I would say that my biggest inspiration would probably be Steve Jobs. I don't know, that's the guy who made Apple, but from a very young age, like just the way that he chose to live his life, just really kind of captivated me a lot. When I was 9 years old, I watched the documentary Billion Dollar Hippie, and I've had the one of the quotes from that documentary on my wall for the last 10 years. Um, I don't know, and I think just, seeing somebody outside of, athletics and, it really, I don't know, I just really like, all the things that he does to make it to the CrossFit Games. I think that's everybody's goal, but Um, I think from the beginning, I've definitely progressed very fast, and I know that that's something that I'm capable of doing. It might not be next season or the season after that, but um, I know that, I'm capable of being at the top 1% of the top 1%. Um, and I might not be, one of those overnight superstars and phenomenal rookies that we've seen come out this season, but um, I think that that's definitely a goal that's always in the back of my mind.